QuarterWorld in Portland, Oregon is an absolutely amazing arcade. Not only that, it's my local arcade here in Portland. So I thought I'd take a look at their games. They have Burger Time, Fix-It Felix Jr. from Wreck-It Ralph, Mario Brothers Arcade, Joust by Williams, versus Super Mario Brothers, Tapper, I believe that is the beer variety, Arkanoid with paddle controller. Then over here they have a really awesome Mario Brothers inspired decoration. Arkanoid, Tetris Arcade, Donkey Kong Pauline Edition. It's really subversive that they have this complete cabinet makeover of a ROM-hacked version of Donkey Kong where Pauline is the hero and she's out to rescue Mario. I just love it that this is out there with no explanation or mention that it is a modified game. I'm going to be coming back and playing it soon. It is they completely changed the graphics. They completely changed the graphics on the cabinet. It is amazing. The only thing you can tell differently is that it is pink instead of red highlights. Next to that is Midway's Pac-Man, or Midway's version of Namco's Pac-Man, Dr. Mario, and a photo machine. Then they have Zoltar, the fortune teller. This place is absolutely huge with multiple rooms and multiple bars. Over here in the bar, they have Pac-Man Battle Royale Championship and Mechanical Pong. This is Pong, but instead of using a screen, there's actual physical, I guess, a cube that you knock around. I guess it uses magnets. Big Buck Hunter, a bowling roller game. And then they have these really cool giant black light coasters. Now this place has a ton of arcade games, but it's really amazing place for pinball. So they got Bonsai Run, Godzilla, Medieval Madness, Junkyard, Elvira, Mistress of the Night, Addams Family, Batman 1966, Monster High, Attack from Mars, Rick and Morty, Scared Stiff, I think, Nightmare on Elm Street, Dracula, Stranger Things, the pinball game. Very cool to see some of the newer pinball games. I am terrible at pinball, but I respect people that are into it. The Sopranos, and Iron Maiden, the pinball game. Very cool. And then this is the biggest room at QuarterWorld. They have Star Wars Racer Arcade, Asphalt Legends 9, guess that's based on a cell phone game, Space Invaders Friendly, that game is gigantic, Jurassic Park The Ride, an excellent Neo Geo MVS arcade system, Iron Man Off-Road, and another bar with food, plenty tasty refreshments, and I believe they have a Smash Brothers tournament on the event calendar that they have there. Moving on, there is Rampage World Tour, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mario Kart DX Arcade GP. I believe that's made by Sega. And one of my favorite games here, Ninja Baseball Batman, an arcade cabinet with multiplayer action. This game is insane. 4 players, made by Ireme. I'll be playing that later. Dragon's Lair 2. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And moving on to the pinball games. In this room, they have The Flintstones, James Bond Dr. No, The Big Lebowski, Jurassic Park, Batman Dark Knight's Return, The Mandalorian, the pinball game. Again, really cool to see a newer pinball game. Spider-Man, based on some of the movies. The next to Deadpool, a claw machine. Star Wars Arcade Trilogy, that's a 3D one. I actually have seen a sit-down of that one, so it's cool to see a stand-up. Taito's Rambo 3. Toobin', one of my favorite ones from the 1980s. Battletoads, the arcade. Then they have Hook, the Avengers, Infinity War, other pinball. This is their performance stage, where they actually have had some bands play. Then there's Magnetic Hockey, a really big Step Revolution dance machine. I don't think that's DDR, but it's definitely DDR inspired. Over here they have Race Drivin', Road Blasters, House of the Dead 2, one of the greatest light gun games, next to Carnival, X-Men 4-player edition, Crazy Taxi, Terminator Salvation, and they had Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom, which is an early Sega game, and it's one of the first games with scalers. I wanted to play it, but unfortunately, the quarter intake was jammed. I'll have to play it in the future. Big Buck Hunter Reloaded. Not my jam. More my jam. Time Crisis 2. The change machine, so you can get your quarters. And down here, they have the Nickelodeon's new 3D Ninja Turtles game. Retro Raccoons, a newer arcade game. I don't know much about that one. An air hockey table. Basketball. A little early giant skeleton. More basketball. Skee ball. Make your own dogma chasing Amy Kevin Smith joke. Air hockey. NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and Marvel vs. Capcom. The Simpsons arcade game, 4 players. This arcade has a lot of 4-player games. It's excellent. Taking another look at the 1980s games in the entryway. Now for music in this video, I have a musical selection from Magician Lord, Mr. Guillemon, the arcade game, and Roston, because they're playing some copyrighted music in the background, and I was worried about getting a copyright strike. I also love it that they have a Fix-It Felix Jr. arcade game just sitting there with all the other ones. Now here's another quick overview. Now, I got there just when they opened up on a Thursday, so if it looks like there's no one there, that's because it's 4 p.m. on a Thursday and they just opened up. But on weekends, they are jammed-packed, great atmosphere, a lot of great music. There's a $2 cover charge, but that's just keeping people from living there. And all the games run on quarters, mostly play for 50 cents. I love this place. It's a really, really, really great game, arcade, and I'm glad it survived the COVID shutdowns. Now I'm going back to actually put my phone on the arcade games after saying hi to Zoltar there, and playing some games. Really, really cool atmosphere. This is also a great place to come and imbibe in liquid refreshments if you are down with that. This is over on Hawthorne, at the east end of Hawthorne. I think, the coolest parts of Portland. One of the coolest streets on one of the coolest parts of town. I would say, one of the coolest cities in the entire United States. And if you're into retro video games and pinball, definitely check out QuarterWorld. And I think I am going to play some games. And I'm going to start it off with Donkey Kong Pauline Edition. An amazing, beautiful cabinet. Now, I am old enough to have played Donkey Kong in the arcade when it came out. I also had a lot of good memories playing it at my local Chuck E. Cheese arcade. So here is Pauline, who's obviously the hero of this game. Dodging some barrels. This actually worked out great. What I was doing is having my phone on a tripod that has stands. And luckily the flexible stands have just enough rubber on the edge to be able to grip on the arcade cabinet next to the joysticks. And, decent results. I wanted to actually do a playthrough on actual arcade hardware. So look at those vertical scan lines of it on Tate mode. It's got a slight curvature to it. Now, if you notice, Pauline, who's obviously always been the hero of this game, is picking up Mario's tools. There is pliers, a saw, and Mario's screwdriver. So it's great that our heroine is picking up her, boyfriend? Are Mario and Pauline a thing? Mario has had Peach, and yeah. Now, I believe in the Donkey Kong cinematic universe. I think this is before Pauline became the mayor of New Donk City. So, before her career as a politician, she moonlighted as a video game hero. Another level of the girder system before going to the construction set. Probably one of my favorite versions of this game is, number one would be the arcade, and two would either be the ColecoVision port, which was very influential for me, or the NES port, which was literally the first Famicom/NES game ever made. How high can you get? Let's see, there's a wrench, two wrenches. Not really sure what tool I got. Now, if you played a lot of Super Mario Brothers and you come back to Donkey Kong, it's a little tricky because one, you sort of have to hit the jump button before you run into the problem that I did, and you can change direction midair. Moving on to playing some Fix-It Felix Jr. Oh, Ralph, he is going to wreck it. The Niceland building. He just literally threw that out of the window. Now I know there's a Sega Genesis game. I have a Sega Genesis game of Fix-It Felix Jr. So I don't really know what this is running on. I believe this is a fan-made game, which is almost exactly out of the Disney movie. And it's very hard, like all classic arcade games. So I definitely wanted to go and play some Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't know, I guess I'm just better at the slower speed Street Fighter. This Turbo speed seems a little fast for me, and Rue hands me my behind momentarily. But there's just something amazing about playing on a nice big cab with that glow, a real CRT, see the scan lines there. This is how retro video games were meant to be played. It's one of the reasons why I love my JVC television with a D-series big bubble tube to get that arcade feel. Futzing with the camera. I should be focusing on Rue instead of futzing with the camera because he's just about to unleash some game of footsie combined with some dragon punches. Trying to do some combos, playing some footsie myself, but he can just whip out those dragon punches. I must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance. Trying versus Super Mario Brothers. Now, this is an arcade port of the Famicom game. So the Famicom game ported to arcade hardware, and Nintendo took the opportunity to adjust the difficulty, make it harder, adjust the layout, because they didn't want people just to, you know, have no reason to go and play this game, and also to hog and play it for hours and hours at a time. This is made at a time when Japan was obsessed with Super Mario Brothers, so it made sense that Nintendo would actually make an arcade hardware version of it. Look how incredibly blue the sky is. The NES Famicom hardware had rather, let's just say, undefined palette specifications, and the Play Choice and the Play Choice 10 and also versus Super Mario Brothers are considered one of the unofficial color definition palettes. That's one of the games that I test when I want to see how a clone system or something will play Super Mario Brothers, because I know it's what it's supposed to look like. This is what it's supposed to look like. Unfortunately, the let's just say earlier, simpler graphics of Super Mario Brothers is sort of messing up the autofocus on my phone. So if you see me tapping, the reflection of me tapping the screen, that's trying to get it to focus on the images. I guess the nice big black background is tripping out my phone's autofocus, which is unfortunate. But you just can't beat that arcade pixel glow. It's magical. You know, William Gibson, who invented the term cyberspace, actually looked at the glow from an arcade CRT and was watching people play video games in the early 1980s prior to writing Neuromancer, and came up with the idea of cyberspace, of the electronic place where we virtually projected our consciousness. Now, you notice there was a different, some bricks removed up there. There are the first World 1 through 4, or World 1-1 through 1-4, not much has changed, but the later on levels in versus Super Mario Brothers have had some pretty significant changes to it. What's cool is versus Super Mario Brothers is actually in the arcade hardware ported to the Switch by Hamster. So, this is one of the more obscure versions of Super Mario Brothers, and anyone can play it. It's on the Switch eShop. Of course, you could always run it in MAME or an emulator. Now the light, if you see the screen sort of flicker, that's my, let's just say my Pixel 6 cell phone camera getting a little out of sync with the CRT refresh rate. I'm only going to get through 1-4 and then play something else. Okay, this is the one where they really sort of up the difficulty, because this is way harder than the original 1-4 in the arcade. They're like, okay, you played 3 levels. This is where it gets tough and you need to put in more quarters. I don't even know if they have the ability to continue in this game. I'll have to see if they do. I'm also taking a chance that I'm not going to get a YouTube copyright strike, because they were actually playing some music in the background, and I did a test upload and did not receive a copyright strike, so I hope I do not. Okay, coming up on Bowser / Koopa / King of the Koopas. I normally just like to jump over him. Well, over under, because I currently don't have the Fire Flower. And I can't talk enough about Ninja Baseball Batman without wanting to play it. It is a crying shame that this game has never been released on any home console. And if you see it, absolutely go and play it, because it is a wacky, satirical, over-the-top Japanese beat-em-up that is fast, it's colorful, it's got great animation. It's just Irene being weird Irene. And if you can really think that there's a plot, so I believe the Baseball Hall of Fame is stolen, so these Ninja Baseball Batman, which themselves are baseball players, fight a bunch of bad guys. That's, I think, an evil umpire with armor, because, you know, umpires wear protective gear to avoid getting hit by pitches. Trying to break that defense. Got him with my magical bat attack. And the enemy for this level is a plane that you fight inside a giant plane. So you fight a sentient giant plane which is inside another plane. I'm also glad to see that Angry Video Game Nerd did a video about this game, because this game, more people need to know about it. They need to have a PlayStation 4 or PS5, Switch, whatever. Irene needs to bring this game to any home system. This game has never gotten, to my knowledge, a home port, and it is crazy. Yes, I brought down, I believe, a special attack from some baseball ladies to help me out, and I'm fighting Windy Plane. Unleashing some combos, fighting a plane inside a plane. Really cool that the boss is like taking damage and losing pieces and smoking. It actually looks a lot cooler than just flashing or being a total bullet sponge. He cried. He started crying, and pick up a flan, a Big Mac, and some French fries. I love it when bad guys in video games explode and have power-ups. So there's the bat, the items from the baseball museum that was stolen. And I got a car power-up that I'm committing some vehicular assault on the baseball-themed bad guys. Again, most people don't say enough cool stuff about Irene. Irene was just creative and weird and wacky, and this was right up there. I mean, I know Konami and Capcom and Sega have their big fans, but Irene just... not a lot of people talk about them enough. I guess Japanese gamers do, especially with R-Type. Is that a engine with... yeah, it's an engine with teeth, and I guess I'm fighting... we're on a bridge, so I'm fighting some card exhausts, and now I'm fighting an enemy which is made up of baseballs forming into a giant baseball guy. Some cool sprite work. And then the bridge busted up and had some cereal. And now I'm fighting more Pumpkinhead dudes on the boat. If you notice, the background is going up and down because they're trying to let you get a little motion sickness and just to hit home the fact that you're on a boat. And there's a car on the boat for some reason, because crazy video games, why not? You know, I love arcade games that can just have big old sprites on the screen. Again, I wish we would have seen this on Sega Saturn or some PlayStation. PlayStation could have handled all these sprites, but no. Sony thought, oh, 2D doesn't represent the image of the PlayStation. They wanted 3D games. Despite there being some really, really good 2D games on the PlayStation, despite the PlayStation 1 having a pitiful amount of RAM. Alright, thank you for joining me for an arcade tour of QuarterWorld in Portland, Oregon. And go to QuarterWorld. It's amazing. I'm definitely going to do some more arcade tours, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss them. This is 8-Bit Joystick. Stay awesome. Play retro.